those watching here today. This is our 13th. I was thinking there'd be more than that, but I think it's the 13th. So yeah, the 13th weekly meeting for our 61 project. And there's a lot happening. I think it just works best. I'll have Ryan kind of give us a schedule update, and then I'll make some closing remarks and just, I guess, refine some of the things said. So go ahead, Ryan, if you would, please.
Sure. Corey, you're forgetting we had 20-some last year, too. So
Yeah, right.
that's why it feels like there's more.
Right.
The main drive lane paving did happen on Monday as we planned. That went well. So we're waiting on that to cure before we can get in there and really get into the parking lanes. Right now, we've got Plum open with Bush and Potter are closed, and we're thinking early next week, mid next week, somewhere in there, we'll be closing Plum and opening up Bush and Potter with a whole bunch of concrete happening between now and then. We got intersection backs, we got a bunch of sidewalk, a bunch of curb and gutter, a bunch of driveways and radius curbs that we're going to try to get all poured. Get as much of that possibly poured as we can, and then we're looking to flip in our week 3 of our schedule. Right now it currently shows 621, but we'll have to see as we get a little bit closer how that actually goes. And that's really the bulk of it. Then we flip over to from the south side to the north lanes, and we continue and do the same thing on the other side of the road.
And that flip, Ryan, is that you're talking about is planned for the 21st?
It is right now on the 21st, but that's, of course, weather dependent and depending what else goes our way out there.
Yeah. So that's the major flip where the traffic will be put on the new pavement. And you'll be starting removals, hopefully that week of the 21st, starting removals and underground work on the north lanes.
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So as Ryan said, we're the schedule updates now are there's a lot more variables probably than ever before with the curing of the concrete. A lot of that is weather dependent, and the significance with the curing I kind of hit on it last week is that once you pour a particular area, you can't necessarily get back there until there's strength. And no one knows exactly when you're going to get strength. It could be 4 days, it could be 6 days, 7 days. We have ways to test that, but there's just no exact way to know that test result until you actually complete it. So the schedule that Ryan laid out and that we'll continue to discuss is the best we can predict at this time. So it's going to vary a couple days each way. And so just appreciate your patience on that. But there are some milestones that we're identifying. And Ryan kind of hit on them. It's looking like Plum Street mid-next week. I want to apologize for my weekly update. I indicated Plum was closed. That was just a pure typo that both Jay and I missed. So one of those things
redlined his newsletter, and I missed that part too. So.
You knew what you thought it said, but it wasn't what it was. So, but obviously Plum is still open, and it'll stay that way until mid-next week. We're anticipating, and then at which time Bush and Potter would reopen. In time to get Plum closed. And when looking at the schedule, we're anticipating Plum will be closed until we make the flip. And so Plum would reopen, and then we would be shifting traffic over to the south side. So that would be a very significant, traffic control change. Both Plum closure and the north side flip will be identified in a press release. So these really big critical changes, the most time-sensitive notification would be a press release. Even above and beyond this meeting and my weekly update. So just keep that in mind going forward. And then one thing I just want to call out is that with the tightness of schedule here, we are anticipating going to be completing some south side concrete while we are working on the north side. So we're going to be strategic about that, obviously very aware of business access and things like that, but that's one thing to keep in mind here is we're not anticipating a full completion of south side before we go to the north side. It's just the schedule won't allow for that. So we'll continue to kind of update as that goes and certainly be informing the folks that impacts directly, whether they need to use back alley access or things like that. So just a heads up on that, that as you see things progressing, that's intended, and we understand that it's not likely all going to be completely done yet. But
that allows Meyer to get their crews in here for removals on the north side, start getting the underground put in place, so they can actually just move right into surface restoration on the north side. So it's kind of we're trying to hit that August completion date. So He needs to get his underground crews working again, and to do that, he needs to remove pavement. So we got to make a traffic switch at some point. So you'll see work actually happening on both sides of the highway while that's going on, after that switch occurs. So
Right.
it's good to point out.
Yep. And then just so you're all aware, we're planning to work west to east on the north side as well. So once we make that switch, work would start right at Broad and work it very similar as Ryan indicated. It'd be all the same sequencing and west to east again. So when we make that north side flip, Plum would be open, Bush would be closed. But that's obviously a few weeks out yet, but just so everyone's knowing what to anticipate.
One thing also about that, I know we've talked about it before, the north side underground work, the mains are actually all in on the south side other than at the intersection. So looking at that, it should be a quicker underground process to put services in for the most part. And then at the intersections, there'll be some main work to bring the crosses at the intersections. But we feel good that we have all the sanitary and water main in on the underneath the pavement that you see out there today. So.
Yep, no, that's a good point, Jay. Then just a few other updates. We're tracking the special events this summer, and they had the Lake Tour de Pepin last Saturday. Followed up with those folks. Sounded like they had a really good event with their detour route, and so that was good to hear that went off, especially at that Potter and Third. There's no incidences, so that was excellent. And then also last week after we were live here, we discussed in quite depth the Bush Street Car Show on Father's Day, and think we've able to come to an agreement there, or at least have a plan in place to accommodate that. I think it's pretty known now that Plum is going to be closed at that time, and so this detour route, we're essentially going to detour people to 4th Street. That's really the Broad and 4th. That's our option to get folks around that 4-block car show, and so I think we can accommodate that. Being it's a Sunday helps greatly, and so an update on that. We worked with the organizers there, and Safety Signs is going to help us out with the signing. So it's a plan, and I think it should work the best we're able to. So
we're going to mobilize with some flashing message boards to let people know coming into town which streets to use to get around the car show. But it is only that Sunday morning to Sunday afternoon, and we thought rather than, and I know it was brought up maybe to cancel the car show this year, and we thought no, we can work something with signage and keep it going on even during our construction project. So I think that's a positive there, that we can do something to accommodate for the car show. So
I think beyond all of that, that's really all I had for updates. Are there any questions or concerns at all? Go ahead, Patty.
Can you just give an update on Levy Road? I know it's out of the project, but we're getting lots of questions on that.
Sure. Want to give an update, Ryan? And I know we talked about it a little bit this morning. Kind of
we
where
did.
we're at.
Sure. Well, to speak a little bit to that schedule, going off of memory here, I don't have that one in front of me, but we've got the road largely prepped up, ready to go for concrete paving. It's the same guys that are paving 61, so they're focusing their efforts up on 61 right now. I think next week we're planning on getting some more of that main line paved, and really I was thinking end of June we were going to have pretty much a full road open down there.
Yeah.
And going into July, the first week of July, we were looking at paving the Broad Street Levy Road intersection down there.
Correct.
And really, all the utilities are done at this point. We're prepping the base for that concrete. The parking lot, there's some asphalt work to be done in the parking lot and a lot of the connections to the other roads, and those are slated for. I think those were the middle of June or maybe third week of June to get all that done. So really, and then there's a trailer on behind Red Wing Grain that we're paving and pouring as people become available. So that's going to look a lot more open mid-July. We'll pretty much be down to cleanup and landscaping,
Yeah.
and we should be out of there in pretty good time after that.
Yeah, a lot of the work right now down there is electrical. There's setting railing and things like that along the trail. And they're kind of getting ready to bring the paver back in. Like you said, building a road to bring the paver back in next week. So
Yep.
but it's moving along. There's a lot of little parts to that project with the trail and the sheet pile wall and the cap and all the electrical that goes on there, and working with the boathouses and their electricians down there running wire as we speak. So a lot going on, but it's coming together.
And it's getting painted right now too, so it should be pretty by the end of the day.
Yeah, the wall cap down by the boathouses is getting good coating on it right now, and you'll be seeing some of the new decorative poles going up along there this week and next. So
But the ornamental fencing that goes along the same block wall, that concrete wall, won't be ready for quite a while. I think it was mid-July that's going to be ready. So it's still going to have orange fence, and it'll still look like a construction zone into August. But hopefully in August we're done with that and wrapped up.
yeah, the orange snow fence you see down there is temporary. That's not our permanent solution to
As much as you like it.
yeah, as much as we like that along our new wall. Yeah. So, and then with that, we're working, of course, the contractor's done a great job working with the boat hauler, Eric Stelter's business, and Red Wing Grain, trying to trucks in and out, and there's a lot of coordination with coming in from different sides and moving driveways to make things happen. But we're working along there with the marina as well. So
Is the trail lighted?
yes,
It is lighted.
yep, there's lighting along the trail. And street lighting, of course. Any other questions? I know we had some concerns with the trucks hauling, and we're actually looking in that this morning, and we're going to go down and check that out. And I know there's been some congestion on Bush and Broad, brought up by the St. James, and we're going to look into that and work with Red Wing Grain on where the staging can be accommodated there to make sure our roads are open, because that north side needs to have some access around the St. James there, critical there from Broad to Bush, so, and by the depot. So we'll follow through on that. The grain hauling has really picked up, and we hadn't had the trucks staging so far back until just recently, so we need to address that. Anything else you have to add, Corey?
I don't think so. I think I'm good.
All right.
So,
Thank you for coming.
thank you. Yep.